We're going live right now. Super excited to be on this live with the one and only Dr. Paul White. So, Dr. Paul, we're going to go into your background because I'm so curious to see how you got to create this amazing book that my husband has been raving about. Like, but he actually had, I think, like some of our leaders like read it at our business, and I think every business owner should be reading this. But also some of the background. But before we get started, I want to make sure that for everybody that's watching this live, if you're an attendee of Skill with Stability, if you are thinking about attending Skill with Stability in Harding in April 24th to the 26th, in 21 days, watch this because I'm pretty sure you're going to be super convinced, number one, of one of the tracks that we're going to have available for you to pick, and number two, of why you need to be in that room in 21 days. As you guys know, Skill with Stability is the #1 conference in the South that we're launching this year, and it's focused on faith-based business owners and entrepreneurs. And we cannot wait to have this opportunity to come together, to network, and obviously learn from the best. And Dr. Paul White is one of those. So Dr. Should I call you Dr. Paul White? Should I call you Dr. White? What do you prefer?
Oh, His Majesty. No, Dr. Paul. Dr. Paul.
Okay, His Majesty.
Dr. Paul,
So,
fine.
Dr. Paul, for anybody that's watching that is just getting to know you, how do you end up doing the work that you're doing today? What's the story behind this? Walk us through like a little bit of like your path and how you got to do what you're doing today.
Yeah, Karen, I'm old, so that could take a while. But so I went to school in Chicago, at Wheaton College there, and was actually interested in ministry, and moved to Phoenix to learn how to lead house churches. And in the midst of that, there were just a lot of hurting people that came to house churches and sort of needed healing. And so got led into getting my master's in counseling at Arizona State and started work with kids and families. Did that for a while, Child Protective Services and out of control adolescent guys. Moved to Atlanta to get my doctorate and developed a specialty of testing students that have learning difficulties, so ADHD and dyslexia. And then moved back to Kansas, where I'm from originally, and did that for a lot of years. And then sort of mid-career, some friends of mine that were business consultants knew that I grew up in the context of a family-owned business. And they kept running into family issues because 85% of all the companies in the U.S. are family-owned. And so I started traveling and working with a team of mainly men, but some women, of helping families talk together and decide about who's going to own the business, who's going to run it, sort of business succession kind of issues. And in the midst of that, I was in South Carolina working with a family, and I was talking to the dad about the plan. I said, how is the succession plan going? He said, it's fine. My son's stepping up. I think it's going to work. I walk across the hall, ask the son the same question. He says, this is a disaster. It's never going to work. I can't ever please my dad. And so my wife and I were reading The 5 Love Languages by Dr. Chapman at that time. And I thought, I wonder if this could work. These concepts could work in the workplace. So I pursued Dr. Chapman, finally got through his assistant after about a year, and met with him and pitched the idea. And then we worked together to sort of translate the languages into work-based languages of appreciation, and created an online assessment, which has been used by a lot of people, and wrote the book and training resources. And that's sort of how that came about.
Isn't it crazy how like just like one thing, can like set us in a path of like passion? And I'm sure that working through not only the book, but even like everybody that has read it, like everybody that's connecting with you that has that book just clicked for them, right? I'm like, oh, how can I become a better leader? And how can I incorporate some of these things that I feel sometimes as business owners, we tend to think that business is one life and then our personal life is another type of life. And it's sort of like, what are your thoughts on that? Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I was actually just writing a blog about that because, I think COVID taught us that life and work intersect, right? And what happens in life outside of work impacts work, and what happens at work impacts life. I was I have twin sons, and the first 2 years was just sleep deprivation to the max. And I was not the best at my profession. I didn't need goals or rewards. I just needed support, you know. And we talk about appreciation being different from recognition. Recognition is needed and good when it's used right, but appreciation is about the person. And that employees and team members, we're people, and we have value just for who we are. And that's important beyond production, because you're going to have team members that aren't at the top of their game. Either they're going through a rough season of life, or they've just started and they really know what they're doing yet. And if you only focus on, production, that focuses on the top 10 or 15%, and you miss the big middle of your team, and they don't hear anything. And we know that once they showed almost 80% of people who leave a job leave it because they don't feel valued. They don't leave for more money. They may get more money, but they don't leave for that. And so just all of that, are sort of wrapping together and understanding the importance of team and relationships and treating people as people. And for me as a follower of Christ, how to show the love of Christ in work, it's important.
Amen. I totally agree with this. And I'm excited that you're going to be able to like be at the event and everybody's going to be able to like connect with you. This is so important, I think, for us as business owners to like keep us top of mind, because the day to day, we have different tracks at the event: sales, automation, CRM, all of these different things. But I think leadership, as you mentioned, like having people really believe, and I was talking to Vinny earlier this week as well on what you guys are leading in that track. Leadership, such a crucial component of why businesses exist and are able to last. It's not the sales tactics necessarily only what allows the businesses to grow, but it's that belief system. And in order for people to believe, you need to be able to communicate in a way that they understand that, right? So that's why I love the 5 love languages. When I first read it, it's like, oh, I'm showing my affection to JC, my husband, in the way that I would love to receive it, but that's not the way that he would receive it. Right. And that is the same way at work. Can you walk us through, for those people that haven't had a chance to like get the book? First off, guys, you need to go get the book. And I would love to like hear from you, like what's the best place to get it? Amazon, there's a bunch of places I know, but what are some of the things that you encounter as like maybe very like clear, okay, like this is an exact translation from 5 love languages to the workplace, and maybe some of the languages that were maybe a little bit more of an obstacle, or like you had to like switches? I know, for example, physical touch might not be the best at the workplace. Talk to us about that.
And people can look for it. We will do a group hug at the end, because for people that work. But no. So, it's interesting. So the 5 languages of appreciation are the same in name as the 5 love languages. So words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, tangible gifts, and physical touch. And we've done research. We have an online assessment that people take. We have had over 450,000 people worldwide. It's in 9 languages. Take it. So we have a good database and understand what's going on. I think a key difference really is that at work, just knowing a person's language, like let's say words, is not really sufficient to be able to hit the mark, because there's so many different sort of variations, or as Dr. Chapman says, dialects of it. So that, at work in recognition programs, they'll call somebody up and give them an award in front of people. Well, our research shows that 40% of the workforce absolutely do not want to go up front to get an award. And so you're actually not rewarding them. You're creating pain or embarrassment. And so part of our assessment not only teases out what their first and second language of appreciation is, but what actions are important to them. And we've found over time, because we've been doing this, 10, 12 years, that there's generational differences, there's cultural differences, there are differences across work settings. And so we've created versions for different work settings, whether it's hospitals or schools or professional trades. And so it's cool to be able to sort of get people the information they need to do what they want to do and be effective at it, versus sort of guessing or missing the mark.
What has been some of the comments? I know you've like presented on this, in like many different places. You've talked about the book. Obviously, it has sold like thousands of copies, if I'm not mistaken, right? It's just like one of those
Yeah,
that you have to
600.
have. How
Yeah,
many?
600,000 copies. So
600,000. Yeah, 600,000. That's definitely a number not many authors get to do, which is such a privilege. But also, what a confirmation that this message is so needed in the
yeah.
business, and especially in the day to day. Talk to us about some of those people that you have encountered that have read the book. You know, what are some of the main takeaways that you have seen people after they read the book implemented that change that they have been able to see in that transformation in their business?
Yeah, one of the things that we've learned along the way is that we have not yet found a work setting that the languages don't work and apply. We actually were approached by the New York Times, and they wrote an article about our work with a mining company, and which are not like you don't view them as the most touchy feely kind of people, right? And so, but what's fun is to help work with the organization and tweak, it a little bit because, when you're working with truckers, that's different than nurses, than, school teachers, whatever. And we've been able to find out what really works. And what's fun is when the team sort of takes ownership of the process. And that's one of the things that's really important is that this is not just for leaders to communicate sort of downline, but that we teach team members how to show appreciation to one another, because if you're having a bad day, who knows it first? Is the person sitting next to you, right? Not your supervisor. And it's too much responsibility for leaders. So we've focused on teaching whole teams, and it's been fun to see them take ownership. And some of them have made T-shirts, some have made posters. One group made a song. I mean, it's just. But the truckers, they got stickers because we have symbols for each of the languages, and they got stickers that they put on their hard hats so that they could just see what each other's language was. So, that's been fun to see them sort of take it on and be creative with it.
And we all need it as humans, right? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, this work environments are other ways. And I think we both share the faith background. For us, for JC and myself, we see our business and anything that we do as a way to, continue to like preach the gospel, right? In different ways, not necessarily quoting Bible verses, but acting and just being an example. Somebody said to me earlier this month, of like, sometimes you're the only chapter of the Bible that somebody's going to be able to read. And that to me made an impact because it's so true. We get to be that light, and we get to be, or not, right? And so as Christians, I think we have a big responsibility with that. So I love what you're sharing because I think it's so important. Now in the day to day, since when was that you first published the book? How many years
2011,
ago?
2011.
2011. A lot has shifted from 2011, 2020. Things are happening in the day today. Now with AI, there's so many components that I'm sure you are like, if you're not doing another version, I'm sure that there's something happening, soon.
Well, the latest version came out last year, so we're
go.
somewhat up to date. Yeah.
There you go. So it's up to date. Talk to me more about these differences in the culture shift that we're having through COVID, from like when you publish, even when you publish, like AI is like shifting so quickly every day. And I feel like there's something different. So how has that affected the appreciation that we're able to share, that language that we have in the workplace now that we're going digital, more and more digital for some industries?
Yeah. So two things. One is that really we had to address, and we actually addressed it before COVID, but how do you show appreciation to people who work remotely or who are hybrid? Because you don't have the opportunity to just walk by their office and stick your head in, or you don't see them in the break room. So we've researched, we've published research. Our stuff is evidence-based, and found that, I'll just give one tip is you got to be proactive because you don't see them. So you've got to maybe have a reminder, whether it's their picture or on your calendar, say, hey, check in with Steven and see how he's doing. And a call like that could be a sense of quality time for him. So there's the whole remote thing, which is interesting. And to be honest, appreciation is person to person. It's based on a relationship. Yeah. If I've been hired by some big tech companies to try to deal with globally virtual teams that have never met. That's tough because it feels sort of weird, So we encourage people to get together at least every once in a while. But there's that remote piece that's important. But also, like you said, the tech part, people both have the increased ability to connect via technology, but it's decreased person to person, face to face. And there's some new neurological research that comes out that shows that, and like if you and I were sitting in the same room talking, the interaction would be different, and actually our physiological response and our brain waves would actually be different than doing it virtually.
Virtual.
And so being able to help create connectedness between team members is, I think, going to be a key task for leaders in this more and more technologically connected world. That if you don't, turnover is going to be super high. There's going to be a lack of trust, not great communication, poor understanding, because we're not picking up some of the nonverbal cues. So um, it's it's both fun and challenging because there's some people, and that's fine, that just they're fine with technology and just do this, but it limits the quality relationship that you can have.
And I think it depends really. The culture is normally set by the leader, right? Like and which is normally the owner of the business. So like depending on what they enjoy, I know we struggled quite a bit when we went from like an in-person office to a remote, because my husband, as you have probably met, I don't know if like he will touch you, but he's very much physical touch. So he like probably like shake your hand and like just like very much like that. And I remember, like, and especially and it's still today, I would say, if you give us an option of like, can we have our office, physical, or should we go, like, should we continue to go remote? I think like if there's an opportunity, obviously we would go physical again, because we have seen the impact in the culture. What have you seen? And I'm interested because you have worked with all sizes of businesses. What are maybe some of like the 2 or 3 main takeaways or highlights that you can share with everybody that's watching of like, okay, this company's doing it remotely. Like these are some of the items that they have done, and highly recommend for you to do it as well for those that are remote businesses. And then in person, I would love to like hear that as well, because I think it's a lot easier to like check the vibe, as we say lately, right? Of like how the culture is when you're in person. But what are some of the activities for both sides that you would recommend to continue?
Yeah, well, one of the things that's important, especially as those of us that are older are getting older and moving out of the workforce, and then younger people coming in. So there's some generational differences that are really important, and one of them is that younger team members are more focused on peer relationships than they are, sort of up and down the organizational chart. So I tell supervisors, just because you have a team member who has quality time as one of their languages doesn't mean they want time with you. So we have to understand what it looks like across generations, and paying attention to that. And so, like for me, I have just a few team members, but I have some that work hybrid and one that's remote in another city. And like we're bringing down our team member from Chicago to have a team meeting. And part of that is for them to hang out together without me. I'm a social guy. I like that, but they want to hang out together. And so paying attention to collegial relationships, not just sort of supervisor and direct report.
Yeah.
And I think that's true regardless of whether they're remote or not. And in fact, like tangible gifts is one of the languages. And again, it's person to person. It's not an organizational gift for numbers of years of service. That's not motivating at all. Or just as sort of part of a reward. And so it's getting to know another person and what they like, maybe bringing in their favorite type of coffee in the morning, or they follow a certain sports team and you found a magazine about it and you get that for them. So it's not about big bucks. One of the cool things about appreciation, it doesn't cost hardly anything monetarily. It takes some time and intentionality. And I think that's a difference between organizations that we've worked with that really it works, is that there's a commitment from the leadership, and not only that, not always that the leaders aren't always real talented at this, but they see the value, and so they empower others to implement it. But to have that support where there's time for team members to get together, versus, just a quick call or a text or an email or whatever. So there's an organizational commitment to the value of team members being known as a person. And there's lots of different ways to help that flow throughout the life of the company.
I love it. And like our event is called Scale with Stability, right? And so like our notion with it, I was chatting earlier with Chuck Tickey that's leading the sales track. But he speaks a lot of leadership as well. I think you guys are going to be able to connect in a deep way. We were talking about like this notion of like, what does it mean to scale with stability? This is a question that I'm asking all of our speakers, because I'm curious in your perspective of, growing without breaking the business is kind of like the mentality that we're wanting to achieve with this, right? But from your lens, how does appreciation at work connect with that idea of scaling with stability?
It's core because, a lot of people, when they first hear about appreciation, say, yeah, we'll make them feel good. The goal isn't, in this context, the primary goal isn't to make people feel good or happy. We want that to happen. But the real goal is, in our book, the second chapter, we have over 50 research citations that show that when team members feel valued and appreciated, the organization functions better. And one of the key things for the stability is that it reduces turnover. You have people stay longer because people don't stay, especially today, they're not committed to an organization, right? They're loyal to other people. And so you need to create connection between them and you and other team members. And they may be reticent to leave or even think about leaving because they really value the relationships. And so that's a huge part, because if you have a revolving door, I mean, we know that, I don't know if I said this before, but almost 80% of the people who leave say a lack of appreciation is the reason they're leaving. And we can really dial that down so that you're not having, and that's the single greatest non-productive cost to an organization is turnover, because you've got this time that they sort of disengaged and then they're not really doing that work that much. Then they're gone. You got to find somebody, you got to train somebody, and you lose relational connection and institutional knowledge. And so this is sort of a core piece. It's not like, you're not going to necessarily see it like on the sign of the company, but it's like the foundation, part of the foundation that makes it stable.
And I'm so excited that you will be leading a track with Vinny. And I think also Dr. Gary Chapman might be joining you guys. So talk to us more about that track and what can people expect, maybe a sneak peek that you can share with us for those that are like still thinking about like attendees, they're still trying to pick their track. I know they're going to have a hard time because everybody coming. It's there. You guys are such experts in your matter, but like in leaders in business. But talk to us a little bit about what can people expect about the track that you're going to do at Scale with Stability.
Yeah, so two things. So I'm super excited about being with Vinny and learning from him on leadership. And he's going to take one morning and go a direction. Then the second morning, we're going to tie in appreciation. And it's going to be a real interactive session. I mean, I'm going to present some stuff, but answer a lot of questions. And then he's going to circle around and sort of tie that into a practical action step. Yeah. Third morning. The afternoon, Saturday afternoon, right after lunch, I think it's the next to last session, Dr. Chapman and I are speaking together, which is a hoot. I think we've only spoken together once, and that was in Hawaii for In and Out. Yeah. So, and he's just the greatest guy. I mean, he is the real deal. He is, I call him the consummate gentleman. He's wise and compassionate, and he's just great. So, and he and I have a lot of fun when we're together too. So it's going to be fun to talk about that. Our session is going to really dive deep on what the 5 languages of appreciation look like in daily life, and how do you find out what each person wants to be, how they want to be shown appreciation, so you can step forward and create an action plan on that.
Wow, that I'm leading another track at the same time that you guys are doing for the students in my case. And I'm so jealous because I so want to be in the one that you guys are teaching. And I hope that if anybody's watching right now and you're focused on growing your business the right way and you're a leader in the business, like this is probably the #1 track that you should be looking into. I know it's going to be hard to pick one, but I for sure recommend this just for that. And the good thing is that everybody's going to be able to like hear from you and Dr. Gary Chapman from stage on the main stage. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Before we go, because I know I've taken a lot of your time right now, and it has been a really insightful conversation. Can you give us a little bit of advice, for those that maybe cannot make it to this event? What is one small shift that a leader can make this week to show appreciation in a meaningful way, outside of reading the book? Of course, that would be like number one recommendation. Go read the book. But one main takeaway that you can give a leader that's watching us today.
Most business leaders and organizational leaders, and even people, they don't have to be at the top, are thinking and busy and have lots to do. And we hear stuff and we say, yeah, that's good, I should do that. But we never do it. So I end all of my sessions with start somewhere with somebody. And so you think of someone that you work with that if they didn't do what they did, your daily life at work would be tougher. Or think about somebody you don't want to lose. They're a key team member, because if they don't feel valued, they're sort of on the trading block and looking around. Or somebody's discouraged, because encouragement and appreciation are very similar, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But think about somebody, and don't just say, hey, good job. We actually did research about that. People don't like to hear good job, because you can say it without thinking. You can say it to your dog, whatever. But be specific. What do you value about them? What do they do that really contributes to you? And the third piece is why it's important to you, either to you, to your organization, or to the clients that you serve. And just take a moment. Do it privately. Don't do it in front of other people. And you can, if you're shy and introverted, you can write it down or write a text or something. And just do it. Just do once, and that's a good place to start.
This is a great reminder, I think, for all of us that we're working with people. At the end of the day, it's not even so much about, yes, it is about the person that we're talking to, but like everybody in an organization is a representation of that culture that we have, right? And so the importance is, of course, keeping this amazing talent that we have, but also knowing that what you're doing today for others is also, it's a ripple effect, right? Like they get to do it for other people. And it's just like when you like show kindness and you like smile to somebody, like it's just like brightens their day, it's like they get to do that for another person, the ripple effect that has. So I'm super excited to meet you in person in 21 days and get to learn more from you and Dr. Gary Chapman as well. And cannot wait for this opportunity that we're going to get to come all together to literally go back to school. I think it's the funniest thing that we're going to like go through, the fact that we're all going to college all together in business. And I think it's going to be so much fun. So thank you so much, Dr. Paul White. I really appreciate your time, your energy, your love to like share this message with everybody. And I think it's going to be so appropriate for all these business leaders that are coming to really learn how do they scale with stability. I appreciate you. Any last words, anything that you want to share with anybody?
Hey, I'm looking forward to it. And I will guarantee you, if you come with at least a neutral attitude, we will have fun. It's learning goes best when you're having fun. And so we try to have fun together.
That's right. We're going to have a lot of fun. Thank you so much again. And guys, go to scalewithstability.com. If you haven't gotten your ticket, this is the time to do so, because these tracks are filling up quickly and you better go get running to do that. So thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. White. See ya.
Yep. See ya.